What is up, my people? Welcome back to the channel for another album review. I'm your boy Nassim the Dream. If you're new to the channel, just go right on ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell as well to always keep notified on my newest content. And today, I will be reviewing this new Post Malone album, 12 Carat Toothache. This is the brand new fourth studio album from Syracuse-born Austin Richard Post, aka Post Malone, aka Posty. 12 Carat Toothache. Post Malone to me feels like an artist that I knew for ages, yet he's really only been around for 7 years, which sure is definitely some years to add up by this time, but it's always hard to wrap my head around that fact just because I seen him around his first tour with Fetty Wap back in 2016, and just thinking about the time of that set where he only had 2 or 3 songs made and how he actually had to repeat a couple of those songs just to keep the set going, kind of just blows my mind just because of where he's at now. Because then we fast forward to the present time and the man now plays at the headliner shows and festivals on the biggest stages that the area has to offer, with over 30 awards and 100 nominations, including the outstanding number of the millions and millions of listeners being declared as one of hip-hop and pop's biggest artists alive to this day. And I certainly have high praise and much love for the man for the success over the years, of course. Beginning to look at his first debut release of presenting his first commercial album in the 2016 record Stoney. Stoney is a record of whom I speak to most people personally about, who I feel like this is the big heavy fan favorite for Post Malone. This record actually features some of his #1 hits in the beginning of his career, such as Congratulations, I Fell Apart, and White Iverson. Following this comes the 2018 record Beer Bongs and Bentleys, which is debatably the most well-crafted from Post Malone off his discography, continuing his career with heavy hip-hop and pop influence, still generating more and more bops with this album that still to this day sound pretty incredible. Not to mention, this was a major pinnacle to Austin's career, with this album being nominated for the Album of the Year for the 62nd Annual Grammy Awards. Then we come in with his third full-length project, the 2019 Hollywood's Bleeding. Hearing this for the first time was definitely a great joy for me going off of that first run-through, though with the time passed noticing where this record stands, it can definitely be viewed as one of the weakest releases from Post Malone, though I definitely think this is miles and miles ahead of his August 2016 mixtape, if we're just gonna put that out there. And now the year is 2022, and we are here now with this brand new project, 12 Carat Toothache. Now, I will say right out of the bat, if you've been following the channel up to this point, you probably know that I haven't really been having the best expectations for this new project based off the singles release, only because I noticed that that same pop dominance that we first heard from Hollywood's Bleeding transition is starting to go into this new direction of this record, kind of going fully pop now, but instead now double the flaw. And I seriously mean double, with the amount of awfulness that I couldn't ignore through the playthrough. If I'm just gonna note the positives to begin this review, I'm gonna start off with the track Insane that had me following along with the flow-wise for Post Malone, and then on the song Wasting Angels, this instrumental isn't as unenthusiastic as some of the rest of the singles have really presented to me so far, but I will say I wasn't as bugged out with the performances on here. I'm not such a Kid LAROI stan, but if I'm gonna mention some of the songs that I've heard from the kid, I will say that this isn't much of a contribution, but it still adds to Post Malone's melodics, because this is one of the tracks that Posty actually has me synced in with him melodically, of course on the group vocals, lyrically about letting the good things show past them and missing the opportunity to take it and regretting it to this day, and then add along to this focused theme that is added to this project, but then have the song Euthanasia that really does have me reaching my second thoughts when it comes to how I really want to think about this project when I first review it. Post pretty much talks about having suicidal tendencies, of him passing through the afterlife painlessly over these chiming synths, almost mimicking a pulse monitor, painting the image of him on his deathbed. But sadly, that's pretty much all the nice things I have to say about this record, so I'm just gonna go ahead and state the bad things. We're just gonna begin with the intro track Reputations, opening up with Posty on the keys encompassed with Hall Hemispheres. As a kickoff track, this really is an ugly beginning because of the vibrato is just ridiculous and is just overbearing while being drowned in so much reverb, and I mean a lot of it, making this sound more terrible than it already is. This is one of the first things that I really wanted to mention about the record, but I want to say the positives first. This whole record is really fucked up because of the reverb. Transitioning into Copped Up is smooth, but my feelings still stay put with how I first felt with the track. I just really don't see the appeal of having Roddy Rich on this in particular track, and not to mention the way he presented on this track, it was god-awful. Lemon Trees is another try of going acoustic, sounding like a much shittier version of his last acoustic hit, Circles, on his last record, Hollywood's Bleeding. But him trying to work out this country twang is the equivalent of any suburbs kid trying a country accent. And yes, I know, guilty. The fifth track, I Like You, a happier song featuring pop contemporary Doja Cat, is the first track that we run into with a hip-hop style beat. But this is just a complete eye roll of a typical hip-hop pop track of how predictable the song structure is. The entire drum pattern to the chorus to the arrangement to pretty much every sequence on here is entirely boring. Then on the next track, I Cannot Be, a sadder song, is of course, you guessed it, a sad song. And I want to say this now, I'm not really trying to tease Post Malone about what he's really talking about in this record, because it is very serious. And it is something I take note of when it comes to his songwriting capability for this new project, but I just can't say musically this is keeping me on point. This is pretty much an achy, breaky defeat feeling of being in this relationship when he's down to the dumps 24/7 due to not really being enough and all sort of toxicity in this relationship. And the fact that Gunna, out of all rappers, is brought on this track just has cringe written all over it with this verse. It's kind of hilarious in a way. One of the tracks that caught my eye off of First Glimpse comes from the 8th track on the list, Love Hate Letter to Alcohol, featuring folk band Fleet Foxes, which I was seriously crossing my fingers to hope that there was some great use of the band's work onto this track, but unfortunately it is just a total waste. When I'm Alone has this upbeat punk rock agenda about themes of regret and the past relationship, and yet again drenched in unnecessary effect. And then we get onto the first single on here, One Right Now with The Weeknd, was a track that I was actually really liking off of its release, but then really giving this thing a week or two to really settle in, just kind of expose this more and more with the aging process on here. I'm more so seeing this track day by day as just a pure generic pop song that is just as bad at aging as a gallon of milk. And then the record ends off with this pretty much a 1 minute 30-second extension of the song Euthanasia, and is another acoustic piece with a lot less reverb this time. But I just don't see the point of having this on here. I really just think it could have been discarded. While I'm in the middle of analyzing my plays on these tracks, I'm so bothered by the poorness of the song capability of these new tracks that I can't even find the care to want to know what he's really talking about deeper in his songs. Even when I think a record isn't great or is just plain and simple bad, I still have the optimism in me that wants to go deeper into these underlying themes or narratives that still give me something to not hate the record so much. Even finding out what the deeper meaning of what this really means to Post, it unfortunately doesn't really bother changing my opinion on how I feel about this record. The productivity is absolutely mind-numbing on this record. It is absolutely deafening for my ears. I just cannot stand how soaked, drenched, and oiled in reverb this album really is. And like I said, I understand that this record has a lot of reflection of what's really going on in Austin's thoughts about his perception on reality and wishing life that wasn't so in your face in Hollywood left and right kind of life. And I get that, and I really feel for him in that, and I surely don't think that with your talent should come a lot of this stressful shit that you really don't care about. But I gotta be honest, there is unfortunately not even a full minute of anything sonically that really kept me in check during my listen. The production so far is by far the worst of his yet, and the musicality of it is just absolutely tasteless. This is also generating some of the worst performances from Post Malone, and also his features that he's presented. And I'm sure some of the diehard fans are going to really enjoy this new pop direction that he's going in and that he might stay in. I'm just not happy to be aboard the ride at this point. I'm going to give Post Malone's 12 Carat Toothache a 23%. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed, go and like, share, comment down below, and if you're not already, subscribe to the channel. Down in the description, you see all the separate tracklist ratings I had for the album, more videos, and also the links to the social media accounts so you can keep with me on the daily, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Dose.